Welcome to the first Tempo Storm Meta Snapshot breakdown of RASTAKHAN'S Rumble. Following the release of the new expansion, many players have been experimenting with new decks trying to find what works and what doesn't. This has made for a very diverse meta to play on the Hearthstone standard ladder. While RASTAKHAN'S Rumble enabled new decks to appear, only some of them seem to be competitively viable. Few of these decks have not achieved their full potential yet, as the meta is still relatively young, but this meta snapshot breakdown will provide you an idea of how things seem to be shaping up. That being said, the top of the meta hasn't shifted too significantly, as the old decks are already refined, leaving them to prey on the new decks that'll still need touch-ups. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more Tempo Storm content, and to check out the full meta snapshot linked in the description below. Let's jump into the tier list to see what's new from the RASTAKHAN meta. To no one's surprise, our Druid overlords remain comfortably on top of the meta. Even though there was a new expansion, Wild Growth, Nourish, and Spreading Plague still remain game-changing. While Druid did get some interesting new cards, it's hard to find a place for them in the list due to how well Malygos Druid already performs. Some players thought that Mojo Master Zihi would be able to slow down Druid, but in reality, the Druid player still has a wide range of options at 6 mana. A bit lower into Tier 1 is the other Boomsday dominant deck, Togwaggle Druid. It's another prime example of abusing the strength of Druid cards in order to dominate the ladder. The deck has been strong for a while and isn't really relying on any of the new cards in order to retain its relative power level to the standard ladder. One interesting thing players have been testing has been including Hakar the Soul Flayer to put more endgame pressure on opponents. It's hard to tell which one is better at the moment, but it seems that the standard Tog list will remain the preferred competitive option. Odd Paladin remains a good deck due to its matchup against Deathrattle Hunter and Spell Hunter, which are currently at the top of the meta. The aggressive archetype has the additional benefits of already being fairly refined. Odd Paladin didn't receive too many new tools aside from a few minions players are experimenting with. The deck is likely to falter as the meta stabilizes, but for now it remains a popular option for aggro players looking to punish unrefined decks. Deathrattle Hunter is another old deck that remains in control of the meta, also not relying on new cards from RASTAKHAN. The only new cards players have really experimented with is Undasta, but that card itself felt fairly underwhelming when played. Deathrattle Hunter is not only a counter to Malygos Druid, but is also just a well-rounded deck, which is more than enough reason for players to rely on Deathrattle Hunter early in the December season. The other Hunter archetype that's currently performing well is Spell Hunter. While it's not a new archetype, it is making a return into the meta thanks to the new Hunter hero card, Zul'jin. This card gives Hunter the access to insane swing turns that will single-handedly win games by sheer value. This deck is on the rise and seems to not be falling anytime soon due to its range of value cards developing more consistent results. The final deck rounding off Tier 1 is Even Warlock. It's a fan-favorite deck that allows Warlock to remain relevant in the meta, at least slightly. This is one of the top decks in the meta that has the most room to experiment with new cards. Arena Fanatic finds value from buffing a full hand of value minions, which is great synergy with a cheap card-drawing hero power. Mashog Enforcer has the ability to shut down aggro decks and mid-range decks from value trading against Even Warlock's weaker or damaged minions. Even Warlock even became a perfect fit for Mojo Master Zihi, allowing the deck to gain more time against combo-based decks. Even Warlock is a deck that will only get better as more cards get printed, as any even-costed cards can be slotted into the deck. The second tier of the snapshot is fairly wide and features a lot of interesting decks. Tier 2 is occupied by 7 of the 9 classes in Hearthstone, with the only 2 missing being Priest and Warrior. The top decks in the second tier nearly missed being placed in Tier 1, but we're lacking the right matchups being frequent in the meta for them to find their place as the current most competitive decks of Standard. The top deck in this tier is Even Paladin. It has favorable matchups against Malygos Druid and can find wins anywhere due to a lot of its strong cards. The only really bad matchup for this deck is Shutterwalk Shaman, which finds itself being seen a lot less in the meta currently, giving rise to the Even Paladin archetype. A lot of the decks that are in this tier have the potential to move up with either more refinement or if the meta changes to favor its good matchups. Subject 9 Hunter, Token Druid, and Combo Shutterwalk Shaman are primed to take advantage of any shifts in these early stages of the meta and shake up the tier lists. All of these decks have the ability to climb the ladder easily and allow players to find a deck that suits their playstyle. While the meta is fairly new and still partially unexplored, there's still an edge to be gained in deck selection and tech choices. One tech card that's been floating around that we've mentioned before is Mojo Master Zihi. A lot of players thought this card would be an answer to Druid, but in reality, it just does better against other combo decks. This card can give you time to stall for your game plan while disrupting theirs. In terms of gaining an advantage with the deck that you play, consider trying OTK Paladin. While the deck struggles against Malygos Druid, it is favored against the best Hunter decks and Odd Paladin. OTK Paladin can be difficult to play at times, but the deck matchups are good, and it can be very rewarding to pilot the deck to a victory. A lot of players were worried that this expansion wouldn't be impactful toward the standard ladder experience, but it seems that RASTAKHAN'S Rumble is having a positive effect on the meta. While a lot of the top-tier decks remain the same, it's likely that the tier list will shift around, favoring some new archetypes in the coming weeks. Thank you for watching this edition of the Tempo Storm Meta Snapshot Breakdown. We hope this video will help you better understand the snapshot and will allow you to find the right decks for finding results on the ladder. Let us know in the comments what decks you've been experimenting with so far. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with our Hearthstone content. Thanks for watching.